Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Okay. And welcome to those of you who are online with us. It's great to start this semester off with this convocation. Now, I know some of you have already started the semester off because you had last week and it was intense. And I said to someone who said, yes, it was really intense. I said, yeah, that's why we call it an intensive. So welcome. I'm really glad you're here. Listen to these words from Song of Songs. You know it, some of you, as Song of Solomon, and it's 2:8 through 13. The voice of my beloved, look, he comes leaping upon the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing in at the windows, looking through the lattice. My beloved speaks and says to me, arise, my love, my fair one, and come away, for now the winter is past. The rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of singing has come, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree puts forth its figs, and the vines are in blossom. They give forth fragrance. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. So ends the reading. Taking the time it takes. The New Revised Standard Version, the updated edition, labels this part of Song of Songs as a song of love. Maybe. It's in the lectionary, and it's in the lectionary with some really odd other texts, like Deuteronomy 4, 1 through 2 and 6 through 9, which is all about being careful and being sure you keep the law and you don't offend God and you keep the commandments. And it's here with Psalm 45 that you heard read, which is presumably a wedding song from one of the wives of the king about how wonderful he is and how chosen of God he is and how wonderful it is to be loved by him. And it's in here with Mark 7, 1 through 8, 14, 15, and 23, 21 through 23, which is all about where the Pharisees are upset that the disciples apparently have not washed their hands before they ate. Don't do that. And Jesus says it's not what goes into a person that defiles them, it's what comes out of them. So essentially it's something about our interiority and what it is that make us a righteous person. And it's in here with James 1, 17 through 27, which is all about being a doer of the word. Now, because I almost always, not always, but almost always, I'd say 98% of the time, preach from the lectionary, I preached from this text before. But this time I was looking at it and going, why did they put these texts together? They make no sense. You get to say that to the lectionary people who put it together. And I wonder, is there a word in each place that made them say, oh, that would go good together right there? I don't even know how they made these decisions. But looking at the Song of Songs, the highest song, it is a love letter. It is a lover seeing her beloved who has said, come away, spend time with me. We don't have to be cooped up because the winter is going on. So it's a love story. And unfortunately, it's probably not a love story like 2024. We often read the biblical text and think that these people are doing the same kinds of things that we are doing. Well, they are human. They likely are doing some of the things that we are doing. But it's a different world. But what's not different here is that the lover says to the beloved, I need time with you. Now, the ancient church read the Song of Songs as, don't do this in my class, as, as a metaphor of Jesus and the church. That's how the ancient church read this. But there's nothing in the biblical text to actually allow that to be true. That's just our way of believing there's a little red line that runs through the Old Testament to the New Testament. There's also nothing in the Old Testament that says that either. I know, blowing the mind right off the block right now. These actually are two lovers. What has come about is this notion that they need time together in order to make the relationship flourish and be more like what they want it to be. Now, you have just signed up to go to school, and what you're not going to have is more time with your lovers. You're going to have less time unless you take the time to figure out what you need to say no to so that you can create a kind of balance for study and for play. We have lovers among us. I'm not going to call their name, but I do watch them on social media, and they study hard, they work hard at their work, and then I look up and they're in some cave somewhere in Ohio, because it takes the time it takes to build the kind of flourishing that you want to build, not just with your lovers, but also with the way you love God. Here you are called to love God with your mind. Now, I know you're used to loving God with your praise, and maybe you've made up some songs that work for you, and maybe there are songs you sing over and over, but now you're being called to take the time to love God with your mind, to pull away long enough, to pull away long enough so that you can ask and sit with the most difficult questions that you're going to face. Now, here's the thing. Most of us like ready and easy answers. We just do. We are humans. We don't like complexity. But the lover knows it takes the time it takes to build the kind of relationship you want to build. There's a sign on my door that says, Jesus was asked, I think it says 387 questions, and he maybe answered 8 of them. And he asked more questions than he answered. Let me tell you, maybe it's going to take you some time to lean into figuring out what Lynn Westfield called good questions as opposed to good answers. Maybe part of what God is calling you to is to take the time it takes to cultivate an inquisitive, inquiring, loving mind, where you say, do I really believe that? Is that really what this relationship is? I remember when I became an adult, as in I got over 18. I don't know that I was actually grown, but I was legally an adult. And I remember somebody asked me a question about my faith, which I was so sure about before this question. And I remember thinking, oh my God, what if I've been wrong? And then if I'm wrong about that, what else am I wrong about? And Polly Cohen Nichols said to me, take the time you need to sit with that kind of fear, that the world will fall apart because of your questions. And what if the world you know falls apart? God is gifted with new creation. Here you are. it takes the time it takes.